Page number 15, continued. Chaucer insists in one thing in his portrayal of characters. Every character, good or bad, must be a perfect specimen of his class. The knight is a very perfect knight. The doctor has not his like in this world. The shipman is a smuggler and worse. But of his craft there na soon switch from Hull to Carthage. The partner is a quack, but of his craft from Berwick to where ne was there switch another partner. Beyond this, the interest of Chaucer's picture lies in the distribution of light and shade, the depth as well as the range of portraiture. It is not entirely satirical, nor except in three classes is it idealistic. End of page 15. Now page 16. There are neutrally tinted characters. The squire and the clerk, for instance, are drawn with a very friendly hand, but they are idealized, and Chaucer permits himself a kindly smile at the squire's romantic nature, and the lean clerk's lean horse. In most of the other portraits, there is a touch of satire which grows more apparent as we descend the social scale. The prioress is treated with amused deference. The well-born monk is praised for accomplishments that his vows forbade. Of the professional man, the man of law gets off with one little jibe. Quote, "Nowhere so busy a man as he there was, and yet he seemed busier than he was." The doctor doesn't escape so easily. He is a bit of a humbug, grounded in astrology, hand and glove with the druggist, and making a good thing out of the plague. The manciple and the reeve belong to a lower station and are presented with an irony which is mordant yet subtle. mordant, mordant. They are hellish in character, for they fleece their masters at every turn and receive thanks for their labours. The friar and the wife of Bath are treated indulgently, though their moral standards are low. Church figures like the summoner and the pardoner are detestable. Chaucer lashes them unsparingly. Against these figures stand the knight, the parson and the ploughman, idealized figures representing the three main classes in medieval society: the bellators, the orators and the liberators. A cross-section of English life in the 14th century is presented through the characters of the prologue. The characters of the prologue, in spite of their satirical or idealized nature, are men and women of flesh and blood, and they are neither monsters of ugliness nor paragons of virtue. Unlike Dickens, who is a master of the eccentric characters which are monsters of inequity, paragons of pathos, of optimism, of cunning, meanness, benevolence, Chaucer takes delight in depicting normal human beings. His world is almost freak-free, and his characters are perfectly life-size. The poet takes delight in presenting plain men and women interested in the normal course of living. Chaucer adopts the method of an artist and a portrait painter in the portrayal of his characters. He looks at his characters objectively with intellect, detachment and penetration. He describes his characters as if his eyes were wandering over them, noticing a very bright detail here and there. This very impression of casualness, this economy, significance, and variety of every detail are examples of that art which conceals art. His method in the painting of characters is primitive, such as no artist would adopt today. Like the primitive artist, he is a little clumsy, stiff in contours, is fond of bright colors and presents details which make us smile for a time. Details in the portraits follow haphazardly. No definite pattern of description is followed. Every character emerges step by step through a succession of concrete details which fall in the end into perspective and reveal the person. Sometimes details of dress come first, and from them we infer the character. Sometimes he begins with the character and adds touches of dresses afterwards. Such casualness and a delightful negligence increases the impression of truthfulness. It is said that Chaucer's characters are individuals as well as types, not mere phantoms of the brain, but real human beings and types, true to the likeness of whole classes of men and women. Chaucer's great art lies in his striking the delicate balance between the individual and the type. We behold not only the individual but also the type. The abstract type is made visible and real as embodied in the individual. Each of the 30 characters drawn by Chaucer stand for the type, but each character stands as an individual well marked in all personal details. The old knight is a chivalrous character of all ages, loving faithfulness, liberality and courtesy. He stands for heroism and manliness that a good knight would always show on the battlefield, but he has been individualized by his prudence and his weakness of behavior, as well as by his jerkin of fustian, all begrimed, by his coat of mail and the good horse on which he rode. His son, the young squire, stands for the type of merry, happy-go-lucky youth, interested in singing and playing upon the flute. He has been individualized by his curly looks, his embroidered clothes, his short coat with long white sleeves. The yeoman is the type of those who are well versed in archery, but he has given an individualistic color by his cropped head and his brown visage, his sword, buckler, and dagger. The prioress is the type of a woman who is an epicure, but she is portrayed as an individual with her meticulous care in eating and other courtly manners, as well as a tenderness of heart. End of page 16, now page 17. The monk is the type of monks of those times, interested not in religion and the study of holy books, but in riding on horses and keeping greyhounds for hunting. But Chaucer's monk is an individual with bald head and rolling eyes, glowing like the fire under a cauldron. The friar represents the friars of Chaucer's time. He stands for the type of the friars of the 14th century. He is the type of those friars who were not at all interested in the performance of their religious rites and duties, and helping the poor, but in taking money from all classes of people as gifts. Like Chaucer's friar, the friar of those days were wanton and jolly, and interested in gay and flattering talk. They are amorous and married off many a young women. They were amorous and married off many a young women. But Chaucer's friar is individualized by his pleasant voice and his skill in singing ballads, as well as his knowledge of town taverns and barmaids. He has been given the name Hubert to make him more like a true person rather than an abstraction. The merchant is the type of tradesman of whose times who knew how to make a profit and safeguard their business interest. But Chaucer's merchant is an individual figure, extremely witty and clever in bargaining and borrowing. He sits on a horse with a beaver hat on his head and boots fastened nearly with rich clasps. The Oxford clerk is the type of good scholars, not interested in worldly glory, but in the advancement of knowledge and learning. But Chaucer's Oxford clerk comes as a figure of his hollow cheeks, grave looks, grave looks, and his threadbare cloak. The Franklin again is a typical figure joining hands with the monks and friars of those times. He is a pleasure seeker, for he is the son of Epicure, interested in wine and service, wine and women, meat and drink. Even this Franklin has been individualized by his dagger hung at his girdle and pouch of taffeta white as a morning's milk. The man of law is a typical lawyer, and so is the doctor of physic, interested in gold. For gold is physic, is a cordial, and therefore he loved gold in special. For these figures are individuals by their peculiar traits and their physical features. The shipman, a typical sailor of times, is again individualized by the expression, with many a tempest had he heard been shake. There are other characters in the prologue, such as the wife of Bath, the partner and the cook at Mansipal, the ploughman, who are representatives of the various types of contemporary society. They are no longer mere dummies or apes. The idiosyncrasies, their arguments, like their likes and dislikes, and their habiliments make them the idiosyncrasies, their arguments, their likes and dislikes, and their habiliments make them as individual figures, living people like ourselves. These portraits, like the delicate balance between character in the technical sense of the word and the living individual, a balance which preserves at once the typical qualities of all of the one and the human idiosyncrasies of the other. Referring to this art of Chaucer, Reluy says, more general traits would have turned the picture into a frozen model and uninteresting abstraction. More individual traits would have confused it by depriving the mind of obvious means of identification. Chaucer's characters, that is, men and women in the prologue, stop before just long enough to enable us to perform an idea of their personality.